Welcome back to the Christianity and Business Podcast, an initiative of the Archie W. Dunham College of Business at Houston Baptist University. I'm your host, Jaron Shear, and this is the show that helps Christian business leaders to integrate biblical values into business. On this episode, we're joined by Jerry Meek. Jerry is a legendary luxury home builder, renowned people and team leader, and author. The carpentry business he started with his dad as a young man is now Desert Star Construction, the iconic building company that grew to $170 million of work in progress. The combined annual sales revenue of DSC clients' companies is in excess of $3.6 trillion and growing, affirming Jerry's belief we're not just building the American dream, we're living it. So these are not home, your typical, $200,000, $250,000 home. These are like $50 million and upwards, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Jerry?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Beyond construction, Jerry has a deep desire to help overwhelmed Christian business leaders rediscover their eternal purpose and find unending joy in their life and leadership through his new venture, Glorious Reflections. Leveraging his personal and professional hardship and real-world experiences, Jerry brings a fresh perspective to leading people and organizations as he serves as a wise shepherd and mentor to today's Christian marketplace and ministry leaders alike, which I'm sure he would agree marketplace is ministry. He's the author of 3 books, including Be Great Before It's Too Late, Team Leader Toolbox, and Leadership on the Level. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's an honor to be here. I really believe in what you're doing with this podcast.
So you've spent over 40 years building Desert Star Construction alongside your father, and now you're getting to do it with your son. At what point did you realize God wanted to be involved in your work and business?
I think I realized from an early age, I accepted Christ when I was 14 years old. And I knew from an early age God wanted to be involved, but I really didn't understand what it meant. I thought that just being a good Christian was great and paying my tithe check, but I believe there was no one watershed event in my career. I think it was the compound effect of continual growth. And frankly, the people and clients that God brought into my life stretched me and didn't have a great business plan, but God just encouraged me to do my best every day, and that took care of the business plan.
Yeah. Was there an inflection point, or I'm sure there were many, where you realized, you know what, this is what I'm doing here is ministry?
I think that has been a gradual learning process for me, because when I first started in business, the Christians that I worked with, they were awful. They would talk about the Bible all day, and they did poor work. It was shoddy. And the reason I got into the construction business with my dad is there was a lack of integrity in the business that we were in, and everybody hated their builder. They're always fighting. And I'm like, you know what? We could be better than that. We want to make a difference. And I think in terms of God leading me, I believe was the more I was in his word and the more that I learned, and most importantly, applied, that was the difference maker to me. It was the daily discipline of reading the word.
So tell us about the revelation you had when you were 35 years old and you were considering leaving the construction business, and you got some wise counsel.
Yeah, I like so many business people, I felt like I was created for more, and I was wasting my time. And it was, God, why am I stuck? The first 10 years of business, I made $9,070 a year. And first 20 years, my average was $17,000 a year. And I'm like, this is not worth all the effort. And I've got an amazing older sister. And I just talked to her and I said, I just feel like I want to do something that made a bigger difference, that was more significant use of my life. And she says, Jerry, she goes, wait a minute. Look at the people in the Bible. They were builders of temples, builders of people, builders of crosses that our Savior hung on. And the fact that our Savior, Jesus Christ, was a small business guy. And I felt like, you know what, that was a turning point in my life when I really realized the value of being a builder.
Hmm. What would you say is your favorite biblical principle related to business and entrepreneurship, and how did you discover it?
I would have to say I would probably call it integrity
Hmm.
in terms of being the same in every environment and not separating who I was from what I did. And I think the biblical principle comes out of Matthew 5 about being salt and light. When I really leaned in and figured out what it meant to let your light shine, if you go back to the biblical studies and the actual period of time, that light was on a stick and you needed to hold it up as high as you could so that your light shed further. And for me, that was a practical example. No matter what I'm going to do, I need to be the very best at it and to
Hmm.
let that light shine. Because for me, Christians, the ones I had bad experiences on, they would just be witnessing to people not doing their job. And my perspective was a witness is asked questions. Our work should be so good. Our light shines so bright that people want to know why. What's the secret? What's your motivation?
Yeah. Could you tell us a story of maybe a time when you were tempted to kind of go the other direction on that, and but you stuck to your values because you knew it was what the Lord was calling you to do, was to be a person of integrity in the marketplace?
There's probably many stories, but the one that jumps out in front of me was one of one of our early heads of publicly held companies that we built something for. He calls me into his office, and it was over $1 million contract, and it was our first contract that large. And he had a duffel bag full of cash. He goes, "This cash is $200,000 less than what the contract is for. And I want to know if I could pay you in advance and give that to you. Would you take that?" And I was like, "Sir," I said, "I won't even think about it. If I take that, you will never, ever be able to trust me again." And I have to tell you, your mind is racing, Darren. In times like that, it's like, I can save taxes. Where can I bury? I went back to what we've taught our sons to do. Know the answer to the question before you get into the temptation. And yeah, after I left his office, I was definitely having that conversation in my head. It's like, oh man, I know it was the right thing, but wow. So it was real.
Wow. And your clients are, as I mentioned in your bio, for our audience, your clients are some of the wealthiest, most influential people in the world. These are titans of industry with sales reaching, I think it was $3.6 trillion a year and growing. So, is there a story you could share of when you really sensed God was at work in your relationship with one of those people? What have you learned, just as a result of kind of being, because this is a long process that you're in, where I think you really get to know. I mean, I've worked with realtors, but haven't actually like built a house, especially, like a $50 million house. So, what has that been like for you from a Christian perspective?
From a Christian perspective, I think one of the things I had to overcome was my insecurities. We had moved 10 times by the time I got to my junior year in high school, and I struggled with relationships and communicating with people. And it was truly the confidence that I received from really making Jesus the Lord of my life, accepting him, and then growing in that relationship. But what it did for me was gave me perspective that, there's a proverb that says the rich man and the poor man shake hands and God looks at them the same. It was like, that really makes sense. So that was one of the tools that I used not to feel insecure when I was meeting with these people. And my little 5'4" Italian mom told me, she said, "Jerry, when you're both flat out on that slab getting ready to be buried, your net worth is the same, your height is the same, nothing matters." And I took those tools and frankly leveraged it, Darren. I have worked for the last 20 plus years with these high net individuals, and to be able to sit across the table from these titans of industry, as you've termed them, which is correct, and they're just regular people. They've got the same challenges we do. And really, what I believe is, I think they're looking for the Christian integrity in the relationship. Do what you say when you say you're going to do it, when you say you're going to do it, and keep your word in terms of financial. We always have our clients back and we have their best interests. And I think that comes through if you're living by the principles in the Bible. And the other principle, too, that I think is really important is they have helped me learn in terms of generosity, which is one of my primary values of my wife and I and our family, because Jesus came to give, not to get. And they actually taught me before my work at the Dream Center, what do you invest your money into, your time, your talents? And it's so neat. And I was interviewed a while back and they asked me what my superpower was. I said, well, I don't know if I have a superpower, but if somebody teaches me something, I'm going to apply it. It's the application that matters. I don't care how much you know. What are you doing with it?
Mm. Well said. That's such a good point about dealing with that insecurity of working with influential, wealthy people, because it's a bit of a paradox as a Christian, because it's like we have a personal relationship with the God of the universe that made it all, but then something just really weird and bizarre happens when we get in a room and shake hands with somebody that in the eyes of the world is very influential, somebody that seems to have had a lot of success. And there really is just a very strange, or can be a very strange, and I know we've all felt it. What else would you say about for Christians that maybe just feel that insecurity? They know that they're called to go serve and work with not just the down and out, but the up and out.
I think my advice with that would be apply what you've learned with your walk with Christ. Be a servant, be somebody with integrity, and don't shrink back. So many people quit too soon. They once said 90% of all failure comes from people quitting too soon. I believe that. If I'd have quit after year 20 and started something else, I don't believe God would have honored my commitment to what I did. And I think the other thing too is don't be afraid of them. They're just people. And frankly, most of our clients just want somebody to be real and authentic with them. Mm-hmm. They can sniff you out a mile away if your motives aren't pure and if not sincere. And I actually have told our clients right up front in the interview is, I don't want anything from you but to give me the decisions we need and to pay me on time, and we'll do the rest of the work. I frame the expectation up front for what they're getting and what I need.
Mm. And as you said, I mean, they're really ordinary people when it comes down to it. They've done extraordinary things, but ordinary people. And I mean, I'm sure you're doing quite well now, but for those first 10, 20 years, you weren't exactly, Fortune 100, right?
No, it's like no fortune.
Yeah, right. What was that like?
It was really a growing period for me, Darren. I don't think God wastes anything in our lives. Every relationship I made in those first 20 years, everything that I learned about the industry, about business, it all came together when the big jobs started coming in. It was my time of training and preparation. And I would encourage people that are stuck and think that they want more to consider, hey, maybe today's okay. Let's make today the best day that we have and lean in and apply what we're learning. Because I will tell you, I am comfortable in any environment now. The first billionaire I met with, not so much. It was a little intimidating. Mm-hmm. But I'm just a guy. They're just a guy and his wife. And I think they just want your integrity. And there was And we don't do a lot of work for people that are born again Christians. We did have the one opportunity that we interviewed for about 15 years ago, and she was a believer. And she said, Jerry, in this world we live in now, the light is getting lighter and the dark is getting darker. And let your light keep shining bright wherever you go. And those were good words for me at the time.
Yeah. So tell us about Glorious Reflections. What's that about, and how did you decide on that name?
That's a great question. I feel like we as leaders don't reflect enough. I think we're so busy chasing the next job, the next client, frankly, the next toy. What car do I want? Boat. I was blessed that I'm not a car guy and I don't do the boat. I have other issues, things I need to keep balanced in my life. But I think Glorious Reflections is really an outpouring of what I've learned and lived that I want to pass on to other people. Because what it is, when we reflect on God and his glory, his integrity, his generosity, it gives a peace for me anyway, and it creates a stability and an unending joy in terms of why I'm really here, not chasing that mirage, but to make a difference. And frankly, that we need, so many people are great at doing, but we as business people struggle with how to be. And I want to focus on the becoming bigger on the inside by reflecting on God and his values than anything else.
Yeah. That's really good. And so this is really the name of the program that you're offering. And so in terms of how people can get involved with that, what do they need to do?
Oh, thank you for asking. It's really simple. It's we established a daily habit of reflection that I feel is central to living and leading from a place of focus, empowerment, and joy. And to subscribe to that, all you need to do is text challenge to 55444. That's challenge to 55444. And you will receive our challenge for 21 business days, no weekend stuff.
Excellent. Text challenge to 55444. This morning, Jerry, I was in my office about 7:00 when my son came down. My 3-year-old son. I got 3 of them. Oh, wow. And I was learning more about you on the internet in preparation for this interview, and I was reading the opening paragraphs of your book, Leadership on the Level, and for those who aren't familiar with the concept, you're referring to an actual level used in building. And so you were talking about kind of the history of a level and what does a level do. And I had only gotten maybe a sentence or two into that. And my 3-year-old, he picked something up off my desk. He says, "Daddy, what is this?" And it was a level. I couldn't believe it, because we're doing some renovation right now. So, I never have a level on my desk, but today I did have a level, and he picked it up and he said, "What is this?" And so literally I was reading what you were saying and then telling him, trying to explain to a 3-year-old, what a level does, which really it's not that complicated. He can see that bubble going backwards and, to the side and going to the middle and everything. And he had a lot of fun with that. But tell us just the concept of the level and what that means for leaders. Wow,
that great question, and thank you. In fact, maybe I could send your son a nice level or something. But before I answer your question, you bring up a really good point. And for all the business people, we're a 3-generation business. I started with my dad. Now I'm working with my son. Involve your kids with every aspect. I brought my kids out when something happened during the night that we need to have it. Get them used to being in the adult world as soon as you can. And it's made a great difference with both of our sons that are now 31 and 35. So I am on the freedom trail, Darren. Well, I think what it is, the whole concept, not just the level, but leadership on the level, is Jesus prayed. He selected 12 people that would be his disciples that climbed the mountain. And probably the pivotal moment in my understanding the story that I've read so many times is he walked down the mountain with these 12 behind him, acknowledging these are my guys. And by the way, they weren't qualified. He took 3 years to train them, walking alongside them, side by side, giving his life, his principles. And every time they asked the question multiple times, he'd figure it out and he'd help them again. And what it did is I think our young leaders need to know that we've got their back and we're going to help them. But he stopped at a level place then and acknowledged these 12 to the masses. And I believe that's helpful in business. We can't be afraid to delegate or to empower. That should be our mission, to help others succeed. And frankly, work yourself out of a job. Now, Jesus didn't work himself out of a job, but he had to stop at a level place, a place that was balanced. And I think that's the perspective that I took away. But he took 3 years to train them. And look what the difference Christ has made since that decision.
Yeah. And you make a great point in the book that all leaders carry a burden, but that burden has to have a balance, or it'll just pull you right over, won't it?
It absolutely will. I think my team knows this. Whenever we get together we do an annual retreat where all their families come with us. We take them out of town or do something really special to celebrate and thank them. And that was the concept behind the Team Builder Toolbox. And by the way, that's free at the gloriousreflections.com website. Please take a look at that. That's how we built our team. But what it is, that's the most pressure I feel, is seeing all the people I'm responsible for and their families, their kids and some grandkids now.
Jerry, what would be one action you want our listeners to take as a result of what they've heard today? And we do want them to go to gloriousreflections.com and sign up for the list. They can also go to Meek, MEEK.com to learn more about you. But what would be one action you'd want them to take?
This may sound counterintuitive, but I would tell people to quit being efficient. Efficiency is doing things right. I would encourage them to be effective. That's doing the right things. For years, I was very efficient, going down the wrong road, pursuing the wrong types of projects. I would encourage them to do the right things.
Wow, that's so good. Don't just, you could be efficient at the wrong things. So focus on doing the right things. Well said. Jerry, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our listeners today and helping us grow. We're all better for it.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here. And I really encourage everybody to sign up for that 21-day challenge. It'll make a difference if you commit to it.
gloriousreflections.com. Head on over
or
there, guys.
Text challenge to 55444.
Even easier. Thanks a lot, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if so, we would greatly appreciate it if you would leave us a quick rating and review for the Christianity in Business podcast on iTunes. You can get more information about HBU Center for Christianity in Business at christianityinbusiness.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to keep integrating biblical values into your business.